I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of October 1st, 2024, and a date of marriage of 2009. She has an off and on who is a low-energy wallower. She says, my MLCer stayed for a month after I gave birth, but was hiding, and he was still in contact with the alienator. Oh, he was hiding that he was still in contact with the alienator. He left for a week and then he returned after I begged and said he ended things with her. After a week at home, he got back into contact with her and she emotionally blackmailed him. I gave him an ultimatum that if he went back to her, then he could not contact or spend time with me and our children. He kept in contact with her, so I told him to leave our home. He's living with her now. We spoke a week after he left when I asked why he wanted a divorce and if I did anything to deserve this, and he stated he didn't want a divorce and nothing is against me. He says that he is severely depressed and doesn't care about anything or anyone. He says he is trying to find something as a distraction, and this is what that relationship is. If I don't contact him, he won't reach out. How long does the alienator relationship usually last during replay? Have I put the no contact rule too quickly? Should I get them both fired from the same job? Okay. Well, first, ultimatums can be dangerous because typically they choose the alienator, but I'm really proud of you that you set the boundary. I'm really proud of you because he was wishy-washy, going back and forth. You just had a baby. And maybe you need help, but you don't need help from somebody who is not going to be fully there for you and for the children. So sorry. And for the children. And you have a new baby. And but you don't need somebody who is going to be not just fully present, maybe because he's depressed, but also because he is in contact with somebody else and bringing another person into the relationship. Or stepping out of the relationship to be in that relationship. That's a form of abuse. And it's toxic, and it is better that he is out when doing that. So that your children are not surrounded by that. They are still exposed to it, but their exposure is diminished. Inside the house with it, it would be much more toxic because it would be infecting all of you. He would be doing it to you, and you would be more panicked, a lot more anxiety. You're trying to take care of the baby, wondering what he's doing. You're trying to monitor him. It'd be awful. Okay. So the next thing, you begged him, you let him go. You told him he had to get out. Good. I really sometimes don't like the kick him to the curbs, but you said it. If you're going to be with her, you can't do this. And you just gave birth. You had to focus on yourself. So you say, have I put the no contact too quickly? Did you tell him you're not allowed to contact? Or are you just meaning, did you kick him? Was that what you mean by kicking him out? Because I'm glad you set a boundary. It shows some strength. So I want you to be proud of yourself for that, okay? Instead of having a regret, oh no, I kicked him out too quickly and too soon. No, you set a boundary that you weren't going to allow the abuse and the toxicity and the disrespect in your house. Okay, that's what it was. That's what it is. Now, he keeps in contact with her. First, she is using emotional blackmail. That's a really powerful thing. And it's hard to withstand, especially when someone is depressed, and especially if there's limerence involved as well. So if there's limerence involved, I want you to understand this. Limerence wins. It doesn't win the war, but it wins a battle. And that it could be a very long one, okay? Limerence wins when it's active. And we just sit back. And you're not going to win limerence, so don't fight it. You take care of you. You take care of those babies, all of them. You do what you need to do to focus on those that you can influence. And that's those children, and that's you, and you heal you. You can't do anything for him, okay? He has to take care of himself. He has to figure himself out. That's not your drama, okay? Don't bring it in. And I know that's really hard. Okay. Now, and he said he didn't want a divorce, and it's not against you. No, it's not. Sometimes they say the right thing, and that's true. Whether he's severely depressed or using that as an excuse, you might know better. Is he severely depressed? Do not allow yourself to use that as an excuse to feel sorry for him and to go, oh, you should just come home and I'll take care of you. Don't do that. Severely depressed or not, doesn't give him the right to bring the toxicity of an affair and inappropriate behaviors into your household. He can be depressed. Being depressed and being abusive are mutually exclusive. Okay? And you don't tolerate abuse. So, have the empathy for the depression. But that doesn't mean you're going to tolerate inappropriate behaviors. And he says he's trying to find something as a distraction. Yeah, probably. That is what this relationship is. And then you get to tell him, well, you know what? You seem to realize that this is a distraction and that it's inappropriate then. You seem to realize that if it's a distraction, it's not a solution. And I'm thinking if you know that it's not a solution, you realize it's also something that makes it worse rather. Solutions make things better. What you're doing is actually, this distraction is actually making things worse, including your depression. Good job. Pardon my sarcasm. So if you don't contact him, he won't reach out. How long does it, then, that's okay right now. Other than when you need to contact him because to encourage a relationship with the kids or because of financial issues. Is he paying any support? What needs to be done legally or not? That sort of thing. Don't set a precedent that you're not going to encourage him, or I don't want to use the word go after because that sounds negative, but enforce some form of financial support from him for his children. I don't want to set a precedent that he's abandoning them. So make sure that there's a relationship. Encourage that relationship on both sides, that the kids have one and he has a relationship. And then how long does the alienator relationship usually last? It depends. You said that he has said this is a distraction. There may be an awareness, or sometimes that's an excuse, or sometimes it's both. An excuse and an awareness that it's a distraction as well. But also they get hooked into limerence. So, I have read somewhere that the typical affair lasts 6 months. The MLC affair, however, that can last up to 3 years. I mean, it can go longer. They can go forever. That's not typical. Okay. Anything can. But MLC's affairs, they can go up 3 years or more. So I don't want you to think how long does the affair usually last in replay. It lasts until it doesn't. Okay? And if it ends before he's really through that, like if this one ends quickly and he's still looking and that's his form of distraction, that's how he runs and escapes, that's his form of escape and avoid, he's going to look for someone else. Even if he doesn't plan to, that's the idea and that's how it works. He might not stick with one alienator, okay? Not that that's good or bad. I want you just to know that that's often the case. Now, should you get them both fired from the same job? So I'm assuming that there is a rule about it at work. Is it either a rule about coworkers dating, or is it that this is a company that knows he's married and they would have a problem with, hey, aren't you married and you're dating her? That's a problem and we have a problem with that, and they would do something about it. I'm not going to tell you to get him fired. Because think about the repercussions of that. There's several. I'm not going to tell you not to, because that's something you have to figure out. I want you to figure out the moral and ethical things that go with that on all sides. Okay? Because there are situations where I think that might be the best choice, where the alienator or MLCer or both losing their jobs is the best choice for them and maybe for the company. And there's times where it's not for the situation, and there's times where it's not. Okay. What sort of learning lesson will he learn from that? What sort of consequences? When we have consequences for a boundary breach, and infidelity is a pretty big boundary break, right? Are the consequences going to work so that they feel the pain and they understand, oh, I touched the hot stove, I got burnt, I'm not going to touch hot stove again. Or, hey, yeah, all it happened, but then I got burnt, but they put something on my wound and it healed, so I could just keep doing it. I mean, it'll heal fine. They gave me this magic solution, and bam, it was fine. So I can do it. It's okay. So I got fired, but I'm okay, because they gave me a golden parachute, and I have, and this money will last for a while. And you know what? I have skills. I can get another job. They didn't destroy my reputation around this small world or whatever. So what do you need from that job? Is that going to destroy the financial stability that you, plural, you and he both have and you need for those children? Let's say you do end up not being together and having to split for a divorce, and you got him fired, so now he doesn't have an income. What are you getting 50% of? What can he pay you to help with those children? See where I'm going? So you might have just shot yourself in the foot. It's, in other words, especially if this is a midlife crisis, if this is a midlife crisis and you get them both fired and they don't end up together, well, you could solidify them being together for a while more. Or let's say they don't end up being together. Just doesn't mean he's ready to come home to you. Or he comes home to you only because there's nowhere else to go, but he's not out of midlife crisis if he's in one. And so he is still not at a place where he's ready to work on that part of himself to be a whole and healthy person for his marriage and family. He's still a runner. And he's going to keep running. He's going to continue to be irresponsible. Not a good person to have a home. So you won't have solved the problem. You'll have just brought the problem home until he finds someone else to run off with. And he may be abusive at home in the meantime. And abusive in the context of midlife crisis, not in the context of, I'm not saying physical violence. Okay. So what's going to happen if you get them fired? What happens to his reputation? Does it destroy his reputation in that field so that he can't get another job, or he has a lot of trouble getting another job? So there's the financial thing going on also. Now, how did they find out about this? The company? Oh, you told them. And then he knows it's your fault. She knows it's your fault. That awful woman destroyed my career. Man, my wife is vindictive. Man, yeah, I guess it really is true. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Look what she did to me. Look what she did to us. I thought she cared. I thought she wanted us to get back together, but man, she is not acting like it. No way. Not after that. So the attitude could go that way. That now you are considered the bad guy because you're the one who got them fired. Because you tattled on them. Yeah, sure, it was true. But how is it going to be received? Yeah, they might need to learn a lesson. And one of those lessons might be that, maybe not. So you need to think about that. Going off and just telling a company that, hey, did you know, fire my husband? Yeah. Now, when my husband Chuck was at the start of the alienator, he also worked together. And they did fire the alienator pretty quickly. And I do personally think that in part it was due to the relationship wasn't physical yet, but it was starting to become clear. They're not good at hiding things. That they were very smitten and hanging out together and doing more. And then they knew Chuck was leaving his wife and that he was being with her. And I think they were singing from the hilltops. And then they fired her for some other reason, but it could have been a valid reason, but they might not have fired her for it, or at least not right then. So I did meet with somebody, not just one of the people on his level, not a supervisor or anything, just said, it's a midlife crisis. If it had gone on, I might have considered, it was a small enough company and a family owned, that I might have considered saying, these two people. But it would have been to get rid of her, not him. And that was because I knew the relationship that they had with him and they had with her, and they loved him. They gave him Employee of the Year. Just before bomb drop. The Christmas right before bomb drop they gave him, and they didn't have an Employee of the Year designation, and they made it for him. They loved him so much that they're like, we have to have an Employee of the Year because we love Chuck. And so he got Employee of the Year. So they would not have fired him had he not gotten into crazy land and all that with her. It could have saved him. So I might have been able to save his job. But they got rid of her anyway. And it didn't go there. But you want to get them both fired. So I want you to think really long and hard. Because there have been times where I've, why is he where I've thought, why after all this time is that person still at this job, when I would think they're a drain on the job, especially if there's an affair going on with it. And it's against the rules. And somebody's got to know. But also consider that the company might already know. Oftentimes people do. So you have a lot to think about, okay? But I also don't want you to beat yourself up for the choices you've made. You have a lot on your plate right now. You have a little baby to take care of and all the other kids, okay? And I hope you have help parents, family, friends, okay, with the baby. And just having had the baby, or I guess maybe that was a while ago, but, well, no, that wasn't. You said that's still a baby. So you've got a lot going on. And that's without having an MLCer. Let him spin while you continue to build. He spins crazy, crazy, crazy. You're building. You're being responsible. And let him go. It's not about no contact, okay? It's not about don't ever contact me. I don't ever want to hear from you. We don't need to have the strong boundary of it. It's just, you said, he doesn't contact me if I don't initiate. Initiate when needed. Okay, smart contact. For kid reasons. Encourage the kids to have a relationship with them. Be there. Be grace for him. Show him that when you do see him, you're kind and still a little distant. Don't let him be too ingratiating because he's going to tell you, I miss you so much. And I want to come home. I'm so sorry of everything I did. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Doesn't mean he's ready. Yeah, you're right. You did make a big mistake. Because I'm a catch. And I'm the mother of all these children. The mistake you made was leaving all of us. But I can't let you hop right back in here. When that happens, he has to prove himself. Prove himself through being trustworthy. Like any other man you would be dating, would you let them hop right in? So, slowly and counseling. And he won't want to do that for a long time. He will say, oops, no, I can't do that. And suddenly, don't think that you lost out and made a mistake. No, it shows he wasn't ready and it would have failed. Okay? So don't beat yourself up. you kicking him out was the right choice. Okay? Because it was just going to be a bad, toxic thing for all the kids. And you are a good and protective mama bear. Good job. Okay. So I hope this helps, and I hope that you can feel validated that you've been making the right choices. And I will see everybody in the next question.